Welcome to this Quantum Security and Defense presentation, Quantum Security, the case for symmetric key establishment systems, and thank you for being a valued member of our community.
Mattia Montagna is the co-founder and CEO of Quantum Bridge Technologies, Inc., a company specializing in quantum-safe cryptography solutions. Prior to founding Quantum Bridge Technologies, Mattia served as principal financial stability expert at the European Central Bank from 2014 to 2019, where he built a group of quantitative researchers focused on the prediction of financial crises using large data, machine learning, and agent-based models. He holds a bachelor's and master's degree in theoretical physics, a PhD in quantitative economics, and completed a postdoctoral research fellowship in quantum physics at the University of Toronto. Mattia's expertise spans quantum and classical cryptography, financial markets, and monetary policy.
It's yours. I'm looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much, Anna, for the introduction, and very, very happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. So my topic is about symmetric key establishment system. So let's jump directly into the main problem that I would like to discuss. So the problem of key distribution is the problem of distributing a key to Alice and Bob, so two parties that want to communicate over an insecure channel like the public internet, right? So once they get the key, then the cryptography can be pretty much secure, even in the quantum world, maybe using advanced encryption standard or even going to information theoretical secure protocol like one-time pad encryption. But the problem of distributing the key securely to Alice and Bob, that is pretty challenging. And this is the problem indeed called key distribution. And normally this is performed using asymmetric cryptography. Now we know that quantum computers can actually attack the mathematics, the one-way function behind asymmetric encryption. And so in a world where the quantum computer exists, we need a new method, a new technology for performing key distribution. Now, if we think about what, let's say, families of technology are available to perform key distribution in a quantum safe manner, the first one is what is called post-quantum cryptography, which is still based on asymmetric encryption, but the mathematics behind it is changed, and it's let's say it's resistant to currently known classical or quantum computer attacks. And I say currently known because asymmetric encryption cannot be proved mathematically to be information theoretically secure. So if you have enough computational power, eventually you can always break system based on public-private key schemes. But again, I mean, it's a great technology. This was standardized by NIST last year. Last year, they eventually announced the finalist. But because of the problem, let's say, that doesn't achieve information theoretical security, many people are looking at other ways to perform key distribution, right? A second way is quantum key distribution. This also received quite a lot of attention, at least at the academic level. But lately, actually, also in the industry, we see more and more companies offering commercial QKD systems. The first probably came up at the end of the 90s in the United States. Those are based on quantum mechanics. So the idea is to use properties like entanglement or no cloning theorem and so on to allow Alice and Bob to generate a key between each other. At the security level, they perform pretty well. However, system right now still rely on the need of either an optical fiber that connect directly Alice and Bob. So you need to have a dedicated fiber between Alice and Bob to use QKD system, or a satellite link. And those are pretty expensive systems to deploy, to maintain, and so on. Regardless that, so QKD achieve information theoretical security. So if you use it and you use it properly, and the system is implemented properly, then you can be safe against any future attack. And then there is a third category, which we can call symmetric key establishment, which was largely overlooked, in my opinion, in the past years in the context of quantum security. And symmetric key establishment are based on the pre-share, is based, let's say, on pre-sharing random data. And I will show you a couple of examples of this category. And once you can allow, let's say, the system to pre-share some random data between each other with physical delivery, couriers, or other means that we're going to discuss in a moment, you can achieve extremely interesting security properties for a fraction of the cost of QKD, for example. And you can also develop systems which are as scalable or similarly scalable to PQC and PKI system. And so this is my discussion today would be around symmetric key establishment and just share some idea and some system that we developed and we are currently commercializing in Quantum Bridge. So the simplest form of symmetric key establishment is probably a preacher key, right? So the idea is that you have a key distribution center, and Alice and Bob here, they want to talk with each other. So the key distribution center generate two identical key, right? So this is the key 011, 010, and so on. The key distribution center put the key in some form of container, like can be a media, can be a key loaders, anything else, and this key is physically delivered to Alice and Bob. So there is a physical shipment of the key, the same key, to Alice and to Bob. Now, clearly this is unbreakable from a computational perspective. I mean, the key is not traveling digitally, so there is really there is nothing to break from a quantum or classical computer. It's also very simple, so there are some advantages in that. Advantage that also come really with security, in the sense, right? Reducing the number of code of a key establishment system also reduce the surface attack of the system itself, and so on. But there are two clear disadvantages. So the first one is that you require a trusted key distribution center. And if this is compromised, the entire system is potentially compromised. And then second is scalability, of course, right? So every time a new user joins the system, the key distribution center should distribute a key potentially to all the existing user in order to allow them to communicate, at least in a mesh network. So, but the scalability of a system like this is particularly challenging. However, there are other ways of performing a symmetric key establishment, and another more, let's say, a bit more sophisticated protocol is distributed symmetric key establishment. That it's a protocol that aims to solve the two main issues of having a trusted key distribution center and also the scalability of this type of solutions. So the idea of DSKE, of distributed symmetric key establishment, is that instead of having a single key distribution center, you have multiple of what we call security hubs, right? And in this picture, you have three security hubs on the right side: security hub 1, 2, and 3. The security hubs are operated independently from each other, so they can be different organizations. Or within the same organization, they can be operated by different administrators, for example. So the important thing is that there is a sort of a link of independency between them, and you will see in a second why that's the case. Now, on the left side, we have our client that we want to onboard in the system, so Alice, Bob, and Charlie, and they want to join the system because they want to exchange cryptographic keys secretly and in a way that is provably quantum safe. So that's their objective, so that's why they are here. So let's see how the system works. Suppose that Alice joined the system. So the first thing she does is to sort of subscribe or register with the security hub. So she would send a message to the security hub and say, okay, I want to be part of the system. And as a result, each security hub, independently from each other, generate a string of random numbers, usually using a very high quality source of random number, like a quantum random number generator that we will hear about in the next presentation. And the string of random number is what we call pre-share random data, because those are not really key. Those are random data that gets generated by each security hub independently for Alice. And this pre-share random data get physically delivered to Alice. Now, the way this delivery happens depends on use cases, right? So it may be a pre-provisioning of the device in case the device then gets shipped. In case of a mobile phone, for example, this can be shared via a QR code or some other form of mechanism that really can be shaped depending on what is it we're trying to protect. But once Alice received the pre-share random data, de facto, she's basically onboarded in the system. And let's say Bob joined the system, weeks later or month later, the same happened, right? He registered with the security hub, and each security hub generates a pre-share random data, send it to Bob. And then same happened again with Charlie. So at this point, one thing is clear. If you compare to the previous case of the pre-share key, where you have a single key distribution center, Alice and Bob had to decide in advance who they want to talk with, because the key were pre-assigned between Alice and Bob. And this system already you don't have this constraint anymore, because Alice receive pre-share random data from the security hub without knowing in advance who she want to talk with and who she want to exchange keys with. Now, suppose Alice and Bob decide to generate a key. This is the way the system works. Again, a lot of cryptographic detail are omitted, but this will give you an idea about how this can be done. Alice can start by sending a message to the first security hub, and she can say, okay, I want to have a key with Bob. So she would send Bob ID in this message, and I want to have a key of 3 bits of length, right? Normally that would be a 256 bit, but let's just keep it simple so we can fit the bits in the tables. The security hub learned about this Alice wish of having a key with Bob, and so the security hub takes 3 bits available on Alice table, 3 bits available on Bob table, and basically perform the exclusive OR of these two strings, right? So what the security hub does basically is to one-time pad encrypt Alice string with Bob string, generate a result that we call key instruction, and send this result to Bob together with some metadata, for example, Alice ID and some information about the indexes that have been used to generate the key. Now, Bob can invert the operation because he has the original 3 bits used by the security hub for creating the key. And so inverting the operation 110 XOR 010, he obtained 100 XOR 010, he obtained 110, which is the string that Alice has in his pre-share random data table. So at this point, Alice and Bob share a key, right? 110. And this key is perfectly quantum safe. But this key is also known to the first security hub, right? It's written here, 110. So also the security hub knows the key. And Alice and Bob, they don't want to trust the security hub. So what they do, they repeat the same information with the second security hub. So they obtain a second key here. And then they obtain a third key from the third security hub. So they repeat the same information with the third security hub. And they got a third key that is only known to Alice, Bob, and security hub number 3. At this point, Alice and Bob have basically 3 keys. Each of them is quantum safe per se, and each of them is known to the 2 of them and at least 1 security hub. And so what they do is they combine the 3 keys using some secret sharing algorithm. In this case, it's just a one-time pad. Is an XOR operation of the 3 string, but in reality, you can use Shamir so that you can also decide how many shares you want out of the total number of shares in order to rebuild the key. So for example, you can say, we only need 2 shares of a 3 to rebuild the final key. So in a case where one of the security hub is compromised or is not responding, nothing is going to happen to Alice and Bob when they want to generate this key. The point is that the system, you pay, let's say, the logistic cost, if you want, of delivering some pre-share random data at the beginning, which is a one-time cost operation. And it's also pretty easy to integrate this operation in common operations, both to secure network or endpoint devices. But what you get in terms of security, it's a lot, because you can prove that the entire system is information theoretical secure now. And so you completely remove the risk that come from quantum attack on key distribution. So provably security is the first point. Second point is the distributed trust architecture. So you have 3 security hubs or 3 or more security hub. Actually, you can have how many security hub you want in the system, and you can design very interesting systems where you can confederate different companies and build an infrastructure where you have multiple security hubs operated by different companies, and having the final user who don't need to trust necessarily any of those security hubs. And then finally, the scalability, right? So the scalability here comes from the fact that you have a cost of onboarding a new user, which is just proportional to the number of security hubs and not to the number of users. And so as the system grows, the cost of onboarding a new user, if you measure it by the number of PSRD delivery of computational cost is proportional to the number of security hubs. So that's make the system scalable. So in conclusion, what DSKE offer, and again, we need to think about this in comparison to the other option, which are PQC and quantum key distribution when we think about key distribution system in the quantum world. The first advantage, I think, is for sure this is a system that is available today and compatible with existing infrastructure. It can be used on network appliances, endpoint, IoT devices, and provide very, very good security guarantee in all of those use cases. We remove the single point of trust in comparison to the most basic, let's say, symmetric key establishment that I show you, which was the pre-shared key system. The case of multiple security hub, remove you the single point of trust. And again, you can design the entire system to achieve information theoretical security. The mathematics behind the system like this is normally very well known. So it's in this case, for example, we just use one-time pad encryption. We use Wagner-Carter for the authentication of each package and secret sharing. So you can combine them in a very smart way to make them work in information theoretical security mode. We fix the scalability issue, let's say, in terms of, again, symmetric key and pre-shared key comparison. And those systems are also pretty easy to deploy and maintain because they don't require certificates, they don't require a public key infrastructure and so on. And those are ready today. So those systems can be used and integrated today into current infrastructure to mitigate the quantum threat. And yeah, so that's my contact. I think this was my last slide. Yes, and the point of my presentation, or my point, is that I think those type of systems have been overlooked in the context of quantum security for key distribution primitives. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mattia, for your presentation. What I asked when you were talking is that people post their questions or post the questions in the chat, so we can take them now. If you want, I can read them out loud for you. You can see them also.
Yeah, I can read them. So the first one is from Bill. It says, does an internet typically have less noise on the network that would for longer distance between Alice and Bob? Does an internet typically have less noise on the network that would allow for longer distance between Alice and Bob? Maybe you can clarify the question. Are you referring to DSKE or to the QKD solutions?
Bill? Maybe you muted, Bill.
Yeah, sorry about that. Trying to find the mouse on the four screens. With regards to QKD, often the noise, limits the distance between endpoints with regards to how long, at least what we've listened to from, different groups, 100 kilometers. When I first looked at it, it was like 2 or 3 city blocks, this type of thing. And is it not a factor in your the way you're approaching QKD?
Yeah, so the answer is no, Bill, because we don't use quantum communication. So DSKE is not implemented using quantum communication. The idea is that we physically deliver the initial seed. So there is a courier or there is some mechanism by which a token gets shipped at the beginning. And this token contains random number, what we call the pre-shared random data. And because of this, you don't need quantum communication to achieve information theoretical security. And so there is no attenuation or any of the limitation that you have in quantum key distribution.
Great, thanks.
Very welcome, Bill. And then there is a second question about the packet size for the IoT type devices. So now there are different ways when we go down, because this question requires a deeper discussion around the type of cryptography that you used for the communication between the clients and the security apps, and how to protect this communication in terms of authentication and in terms of encryption. And depending on the choices of these two components, then you consume different amount of pre-share random data for each packet that you exchange, and this eventually affect the IoT type device and the size of the packet. So for most of the application we currently work with, we normally work with layer 1 to layer 3 protection. So we provide key management system that you can integrate in your network appliances, maybe even endpoint devices. And we really don't, let's say, we don't optimize too much in terms of packet size, in the sense that on an IoT device, I think one could do a lot of nice work to reduce the DSKE current version of this that we have, to a point where the packets are really minimalistic in terms of identity and authentication and so on, and reduce the overhead at the possible minimal bare level. Given that, I think ideally what you want to have is, in an IoT system, shipping just a single 256-bit key plus an overhead, which is probably in the same size, and those two components should be able to derive a lot of other keys for the IoT devices. You may lose the information theoretical security when you go, let's say, when you reduce that much the size, but you still don't use any asymmetric cryptography. You base your system on advanced encryption standard.
Thank you.
Very welcome. And then there is another question. Have you heard of the Computing Architectural Society system does not transmit key instruction generation of a security hub or a key management? Please refer to, I think it's a patent number. Maybe Andy, you wanna clarify, please, the question for me?
Yeah, your transmission, the key regeneration instructions through the media, through the quantum media, and this system doesn't transmit any key during the media, through the medias. So I think this is a totally decentralized key transmission. It's not transmitting any key through the media. Yeah, I think it's more scalable. Speaking of IoT, because your security hub is still a centralized management, key management. Yeah, so I encourage you to investigate this pattern, and yeah, it has it is very simple and user friendly, energy efficient system. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Andy. I will definitely have a look. Just to be clear once more, like we do not use any quantum. I think at the beginning you mentioned about quantum communication, quantum transmission. We don't use any quantum channel in DSKE. I just want to be clear about to avoid confusion. So we do not make use of quantum communication in the system. But thank you for the direction on the patents.
Thank you for watching this presentation, and thank you for being a valued member of our community.